speaker, a councillor from Ards and Down Borough Council, a former UDR soldier with over 20 years of international travel, and he brings an extensive global business experience to the party. Also, having worked in Stormont in the years after the Belfast Agreement, he gained invaluable political experience, as well as widespread knowledge of the world outside the political bubble. He can offer this to the electorate. Put your hands together for Councillor Stephen Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see everybody here today. I'm heartened by how many of you stayed after lunch, and usually we see quite an exodus. Whenever I saw my slot was given after lunch, I thought some of you may have. The previous speaker, Ron, had said that his subject wasn't very cheerful. I also have a difficult subject, although this subject is on the minds of us all. Everyone, regardless of political or religious background. The difficulties we face affect everyone. And let me go further. Our party leader is sometimes described as a one-man band. TV sometimes is described as a party with one central issue, protocol, or indeed orange and green. Our speakers previously have covered a wide range of subjects. If we don't have the evidence enough with our party leader not being a one-man band and having the full orchestra, as someone mentioned before, have a look at our agenda today, and our speakers, and we are far from the one-issue party. TUV is the real deal. I have to go back in the speech because Sammy's looking on me. So the cost of living crisis, as I've said, it is the most pressing issue facing us. We as a party recognise that, but we also recognise it is out of our control. It is out of the devolved government's control and indeed our national economy. Inflation is climbing, fuel prices are rocketing. I had some experience of that last night filling up the car. But our dependence and reliance upon external energy resources are compounding that. That is the real issue, ladies and gentlemen. Our reliance on exterior resources are exacerbating this problem today. We in the UK import the majority of our gas and over a third of all of our energy. Think about that. Let that sink in. Before President Putin invaded Ukraine, our reduction in self-sufficiency went unnoticed. Now it really is front and centre. According to the Grantham Institute at the London School of Economics, estimates of UK shale gas reserves range from 2.8 to 39.9 trillion cubic metres. What does that mean in layman's terms? It means previously in 2013, then Prime Minister David Cameron said that if just 10% of our known reserves could be extracted, it would provide the equivalent of the UK's total gas needs for 51 years. That shocked me when I looked at it. Fracking was abandoned in 2019, clouded in unpopularity and reservations about earthquakes and all things. But upon my further research, the rumbles that were produced were only around a third of that permitted in construction projects. Prime Minister Johnson is now seemingly the possibility of relaunching some of the closed sites in a bid to boost our self-reliance and curtail our dependence, as previously outlined, on imported energy, a move that has already been embarked upon and be continued by the United States of America. The COVID pandemic and the associated government spending has played their part in compounding the present situation. The pandemic placed unprecedented pressure on businesses and on the ordinary working people because of restrictions and enforced regulations and closure. Reserves, both in personal and business bank accounts, were either depleted or wiped out altogether. Now those individuals and businesses, already in injurious condition financially, are confronted with costs that are spiralling out of all control. A furlough scheme undoubtedly saved some businesses from certain liquidation, and perhaps many families from financial and in some cases mental ruin. Here in Northern Ireland, it had to be said sometime along the speech, the dreaded protocol plays a part in our desperate plight. Government tax revenue on the back of the exorbitant price of petrol and diesel at pumps continues unabated, with 20% of the price going into the Chancellor's coffers through VAT. As James pointed out earlier, VAT is capped at 5% on heating oil and electricity. I ask, why on earth wouldn't the government apply the same to fuel? Or is it too unpopular to accept green law? Even if the Chancellor decided to take the bold move of removing VAT in its entirety, we would still be left, as Jim outlined earlier, under the EU's VAT regime and be forced to pay 5%, while the rest of the United Kingdom outside that same VAT regime would enjoy any such reduction. To those rigorous implementers that we hear so much about, perhaps they should, in their words, own that. This is yet another potential example of the outworkings of the protocol, hitting the ordinary man and woman on the street directly and adversely in our pockets. In summary, conference, our position within the United Kingdom has protected us from the most adverse ramifications of the pandemic. And at last now it seems the British government have woken up to the unhealthy and ill-advised dependence on our energy supplies from Russia and others. Both of these factors provide optimism for combating the economic crisis we currently face. When I voted for Brexit, I expected it would result in the whole of the UK standing as a self-dependent nation, free from the red tape and interference from the EU. Today, more than ever, we have more reasons to call out the protocol in all its forms, and the huge economic damage, not to mention the constitutional damage, we are facing as a result of its very existence. We simply must source and utilise our own natural resources for our nation, put a stop to the excessive costs on imports, and more importantly, the non-financial costs from the forthcoming expected leverage, which will undoubtedly be applied by Mr. Putin on all supply chains in his desperate attempts at claiming power. Conference, we must stand as one United Kingdom, free and independent, and a leading light in these dark times. Thank you for listening, and roll on the 5th Amendment.